All right, Monarchs, welcome to the second video for lesson 6.1. If you haven't already watched the first one, please go back and do that now because we are now on the second video. The first video, we went over this first example and we graphed our two lines, estimated their point of intersection, and now we need to check our answers, okay? So now we're going to check our answers on these 2 points, all right? So we need to pick one of these two equations and we're going to sub in our numbers into these equations, okay? So let's go ahead and let's pick this first equation we're going to use to sub in. Okay, so my equation is y equals negative 2/3 x minus 5. Okay, but if you guys see, we now have an x value and a y value for our ordered pair, right? So anytime you see an x, we're going to plug that in for x. And anytime you see a y, we're going to plug this number in for y. Okay, and that is how we check our solutions. Okay, so now I'm going to plug in for y. Instead of y right here, I'm going to plug in a negative 3. So I have negative 3 equals, and now comes my negative 2/3. And now instead of x, I'm not going to put an x, I'm going to put a negative 3, right? So there's an x right here, but instead of x, I'm going to sub in a negative 3. Okay. And then we have minus 5. Okay. All right, so we need to solve this and see if that equals negative 3. Okay, so I subbed in negative 3 and negative 3 because that's what my x and y were to see if this is correct. Okay, so we might need a calculator on this one to do that first multiplication problem. So first we need to do negative 2/3. So we're going to do negative 2/3 times negative 3. So let's do that, and we'll do that times 3, and that is 2, and 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Okay, so that is 2. 2 minus 5. So negative 3 equals negative 3. So we are correct. That is a solution to that set of equations. Okay. All right, let's take a look at example 2 now. Okay, so again, after example 1, we are not done after we find the point of intersection. We also have to plug our equation, our numbers in of our point of intersection back into our original equations. Okay. Okay, so if you look at example 2, you'll notice that our equations are not in y equals mx plus b form. So we have to solve them for y and put them into y equals mx plus b form before we can solve this equation. Okay, so first we're going to be putting them into y equals mx plus b form. So we need to get y by itself. So get y by itself. Okay. So this first equation we have is x plus y equals 2. I'm just going to go ahead and write it down here. We have x plus y equals 2. Okay, so we know that we have to move this x because that's the only thing that's on the same side as the equal sign as my y. So I have to move this x. Right now this is a positive x, so I want to do the opposite, which is a negative x. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So I get y equals, and now I don't want my 2 to come first. I always want my variable to come first, but I subtracted it, so it's a negative. So I have a negative x, and this is a positive 2, so it's plus 2. Okay, that is the first equation I'll be working with, is y equals negative x plus 2. Okay. Now let's figure out the second equation we'll be working with. All right, so the second equation we'll be working with, we're going to go ahead and rewrite over here. And I have x minus y equals negative 4. Okay, x minus y equals negative 4. So I draw my line straight down. Again, I'm going to subtract my 1x. So I subtract x and subtract x. So I'm left with negative 1y equals negative x because I subtracted it. And then we have a minus 4. So minus 4. Okay. I'm not done yet because there's still a negative 1 out front multiplying my y. So I need to move that. And since it's multiplying it, I do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Dividing everything by negative 1. Okay. So those cancel out. I get y equals negative 1x divided by negative 1 is a positive 1x. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 is a positive 4. So I get y equals x plus 4 as our other equation we'll be working with. Okay. In the next episode, in the next video, I will go over graphing these two lines, and we'll talk about the two examples on the back. Okay. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in.